Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Corporate Trailblazers podcast. This is Ina, and like every week, I like to talk to you about what does it take to actually get out of the rat race, right? Getting out of the corporate world and actually do what I do, right? Like be an entrepreneur and be your own boss and do all these things. And I ran into this lady that I want you to meet, and this is who we're going to be talking to today. Her name is Melody Spencer, and she's a digital marketing strategist. Her company is called Swiftly Social Digital Marketing, and she just had me as a guest on her podcast, and I'm so excited about it. Her podcast, go check it out. Go subscribe right now, right after this. Not right now. After you listen to this, go and subscribe to it. It's called Biz Babes with Soul, and it's all interviews with kick-ass women for inspiration, and it's amazing. So, Melody, first of all, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk to you. You are a pleasure to have on my podcast.
Aww.
So I hope that we have fun on yours too.
Of course, and I told Melody, hey, listen, Melody, I don't like preparation. You come on my podcast and we're just going to chat. I'm just going to ask you what I want to know about your journey and what I think people want to find out. Okay, so why don't we start, Melody? Tell me a little bit of what you do, because the first thing that comes to people's mind when they think of quitting their job and what is it that they're gonna, it's like, how do people make money doing this, right? I've had like several stories on my podcast where it's like people really don't understand how do you go about just quitting and making money some other way. It's just mind-blowing. So I would love to know, first of all, what you do, and I'd love to dive into your story.
Sure. So when I say digital marketing strategist, what that basically means is I help businesses and coaches and entrepreneurs figure out what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and how to reach their audience in a better way online. Mm-hmm. So I do that primarily through social media and through Facebook ads. So I also dabble in other ways like content creation and that kind of stuff. But mostly I really enjoy the strategy piece of figuring out what they need to be doing, where they need to be, and how they need to reach their audience.
Yeah, because one of the big things that people don't realize is that our world is in social media, right? This is where we get clients, and there's a whole strategy about it, and I'll never look at a Facebook ad the same way ever again. Just this weekend, actually, I met a blogger who told me, like, when I tell people that I'm a blogger, they think that I started blogging as a diary and then all of a sudden, magically, it blew up, right? And magically, like by chance, by coincidence, I have an audience of thousands of people. And that is not how it works. It takes work. So how did you get started in the branding piece, in the social media piece? Like, how did you get started on that?
So way before I quit my job, one of my best friends from college created her own organic makeup company. Uh-huh. And she knew nothing about marketing or business, and I had a degree in marketing. So I said, hey, let me just do this pro bono. It'll be fun. It's a side gig. So I did that for several years, for about 4.5 years, not getting paid, just for fun. And so when I graduated college, social media was definitely in its infancy, and I basically had to learn all those skills as I helped my friend with her business. Yeah. And so I learned all about influencer marketing, which means going to bloggers, going to brands, pitching your product or service. So I learned all about doing that. I taught myself Facebook ads. And I'm talking, this is like 2008. So 10 years ago. Yeah. I taught myself more about content creation, video creation. I'm very much a doer and an action taker. And so if I get into something, I do it with my whole heart. Yeah. And that's what I did. So some days I would be sending packages of samples to bloggers, and I would be pitching her stuff to, different brands. And, it was very fun, but I realized, okay, she's never going to pay me because she's not making that much money. Right. So fast forward to 2013, I had a series of corporate jobs. I was an executive assistant, and I was burnt out. I had really toxic bosses, really just I was depressed and anxious, and I already have those tendencies, but those jobs really ramped that up for me.
Yeah.
And I got to a breaking point with my boss. She had just undermined me several times. And I had some friends who were freelancing, and they said, you should just quit. You should just freelance and see what happens. And the breaking point came for me when my grandmother passed away. I had to go to her funeral, and there was a ice storm, snowstorm, and I got stuck in the airport coming back.
Okay.
And my boss was texting me, being like, you need to get back here. You need to get back here, or you're going to get fired. And I just thought, this job is not worth it. I am not climbing any kind of ladder to success. I'm literally marking off the days until the next holiday. I'm not making that much money after taxes. It is not worth it. Life is too short. So when I came back, I talked to my husband, and I just said, I think I want to quit and see what happens. And a couple months later, I did that. Yeah. And that was really scary. I
bet. So, okay, I'm going to press pause because I want to stay here, live here for a little bit. A lot of the people who are listening, they are in a full-time job. And guess what? You know, half of them, they're unhappy. They want to get out. They just don't know how. The other half, they're actually okay with their job, but they know that they could be doing something like so much more. But they both have the same question. How do you quit your job without having anything lined up? How do you start to make money? So, you know, in my case, when I started, like I'm so, it makes me laugh a little bit that you did this for 4 years without getting any pay.
I know, so stupid, right?
No, it's just that that's how you start though. Like, it doesn't make me laugh because it's like laughable. It makes me laugh because it's so relatable, because that's how we all start. When I started, like the first website I ever made was completely for free. I just walked down to the local diner and said, I want to make your website and I'm going to do it for free, right? And they said yes, right? So after that, I just started to get word of mouth referrals, but I was charging very little because, you know, at first we're like building our skills, and we tell ourselves the story that because I don't have the experience or because I'm just starting out, I'm not going to charge a lot. I'm just, you know, this is just a hobby. So it is so relatable because that is exactly how people should start. Find the skill and just start putting it into action. So when you decide to quit your job, that doesn't mean that you already replace your corporate salary. It's like, okay, now is where the hustle begins. So how do you do it?
Well, okay, twofold. If someone listening or watching is going to do it, I would say, first, if you don't know what you want your business to be, I was just told my best friend this because she's like, I want to start my own business, but I don't know what I'm good at. Yeah. I said, okay, make a list of the things you love doing, and then make a list of things that people say you're good at. Yeah. And then look at those two things and say, what could be a business? Yeah. So I would say do that first, and then whatever that is, if it's photography, if it's designing, if it's branding, if it's social media, whatever that is, go and, like we said, say, hey, I want to do this for free, or I want to do this at a discounted rate. Yeah. And then you build up the testimonials. Then you build up the referrals. And it's a great way to kickstart your business. I did not do that.
I didn't do that either. The whole testimonial thing is so big. It's so huge. And I didn't do that either. I'm so glad you're mentioning that.
So this is what I did. So I didn't immediately go full freelancer. Well, I guess I kind of did. There was a big shopping center here in Wilmington, North Carolina, where I live. And their marketing director was going on maternity leave. So they needed somebody to cover for her for several months. Mm-hmm. I think it ended up being like 5 months. So I took that part-time job as a contractor. And while I was doing that job, I started freelancing. Mm-hmm. So I used freelance marketplace sites. So I originally used freelancer.com. That is not a sponsorship for them because I do not recommend them. They pay peanuts and the clients are crazy. So do not use them. Yeah. But I did end up finding some really great clients there somehow. So I was working double duty. Like basically I was working all day, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday at this contract marketing director job. And then I was freelancing. And that was awesome. And then after that ended 5 months later, I went full freelancer. And this is where I say, ooh, don't do this. I went full tilt into working for anybody, everybody who would give me money. And that money was bad. That was like, I'm talking like $8 or $10 an hour bad, like minimum wage bad.
Yeah.
And I had no boundaries on what I would do. I'm like, oh, you want to create graphics? You want content? You want PR? Like, I didn't have the confidence in one specific skill. I just did whatever people would pay me for. Yeah. And I did that for years. I think at one point, I was managing like 50 projects at one time by myself.
Crazy.
And I think I made like $20,000 that year.
Yeah.
Because I paid so much in taxes because I wasn't incorporated. I was just,
yeah.
I just don't do that. Please don't do that. But it was a great learning experience. And right. I now can say to women that I mentor, hey, let's start in a different direction. Yeah. Let's get these pieces lined up first.
Let's talk about what the right way to do things is, right? So we started out, said a little bit about it, which I think is key because it's something that took me so long to figure out is, okay, you need testimonials to look good, but how do you get testimonials? You guys, there's no shame in giving like free strategy sessions, something that will take you very little time to do, right? Something that is not going to take you like a whole month project for free might not make sense for your time, right? And your skills are worth something. So you start out like, just giving people like advice, giving people strategy sessions, asking them to pay you back and like, can you please just record a little video, give me a little blurb saying like how I helped you, and start gathering that feedback so you can start putting it out there, right?
I think there's no shame. I know this is controversial. Lots of coaches aren't into it, but there is no shame in bartering. Yeah. I have definitely done that. The girl that did my website, she and I traded services. So she did my website. It was beautiful, did a great job. And I in turn did ads for her. Yeah. I've done that with coaching. So I wanted a health coach last year. So I worked with a health coach and then I did her marketing strategy. Yeah. So not everybody's going to want to do that. But I love collaboration. I love partnerships and I love bartering. And I think, especially when you're starting out, you should do that as a way to get testimonials.
And we're going to get into that in a second, into the trading services, because that does happen in this industry a lot. And there's, good stories and there's bad stories. And I want to dive into that too. But first of all, backing up for a second, getting testimonials. So it's going for like the right way to do this, right? Testimonials, yes, is good. Number 2, figure out your pricing structure. Your skills are valuable. So how did you go from charging $8 an hour for all of your skills to deciding, you know what, people are going to pay for it. People are going to pay for additional services. How did you make that transition?
I worked with a coach which that's key. Please work with a coach. Yeah. I wish I had done that from the beginning instead of, years and years later. But I finally worked with a coach who helped me see my worth and price my services a specific way. And I have been steadily increasing those year after year because I realize what I do is in demand. And
big time.
There's not very many women doing it either. And my clients are primarily women. Mm-hmm. So women working with women is a big ticket item. Yeah. So whatever you are looking to do, whatever skill you have, know that you are worth that, because I'm sure you have tons of experience to back that up. Even if it was paid or unpaid or, years and years ago, you have that experience. So you need to first build up that mindset around that and have confidence in yourself because you're worthy of charging that.
Oh, yeah. And that's something that took me a while also to realize, because guess what? My business started back in 2011. All right. But really, I started this pivot of my business, like, helping people make their websites and being a coach and all that stuff. I really started that, just like not even a year ago. Right. So when I started, I'm like, well, who's going to hire me? I just started out, and then you realize, wait a minute, I have a computer science degree. I have a master's in business. I have been making websites for other businesses since 2011. So my experience is there. But because you're starting out, you tend to just dismiss it and just clear it like you're starting on a blank slate. And that is just not so. Yeah.
I've discovered that there's a lot of people online who say they're experts. And they present themselves as experts, but really they have like 6 months experience, or two months experience. Like, they have very little experience compared to those of us who've been working in industries for a while. Right. So don't discredit what skills you already have.
Right.
For me, even saying, oh, I've been in business for 6 years, I actually have 10 years experience doing this.
Exactly.
But I never lead with that. I just say, oh, I've been a business owner for 6 years.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, don't discredit that.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about the trade situation. So I actually have never done a trade, but I am about to ask someone if they're willing to do a trade with me. So I'd love to know your experience with trades. Like, how do you approach that? In my case, just to tell you like where I am, I went to an event and I ran into someone who needs help with her website, and I actually need some help from the services that she offers. So I'm about to reach out to her. I'm like, it might not make sense for us to just like be paying each other and then like the difference being like just a couple $100. It makes more sense for us to just work together in a structured way, and she can give me her services while I lend her mine. So I think it makes sense, and I'm about to offer it to her. I have heard horror stories of trades. I've heard that, it doesn't work because people feel like it's free stuff. And when something is free, you don't show up as well as if you were getting paid, right? Because you're like, oh yeah, that's, they're not even paying me kind of attitude. So I would love to know some tips of the right way to do trades so that it works beneficially for both.
Well, I think one, like you've already said, like you need to establish a relationship. I wouldn't pitch somebody collaboration or bartering if it's a cold, quote unquote, cold audience, like you don't know them, they don't know you. But if you're already establishing a relationship, you know what? I live by the motto, it never hurts to ask. Mm-hmm. They can just say no. So I've just approached people and said like, oh my gosh, I love what you're doing. It's so beneficial. Would you ever consider trading for my services? And usually I look to see if their service and my service is within, a similar price point. And if it is, then it seems like a good idea. Well, it depends on if they're open to it. I would kind of gauge it in a conversation to see where they're at and if they need your services. So like with the girl who was doing my website, last year I was in a Facebook group that was offering around the holidays. People were just like giving things for free. So I offered a free strategy session to 3 women just because I felt like giving it to them. And she got on one of those calls. And she was like, oh, I'm struggling with marketing, blah, blah, blah. I'm a web designer. And I looked at her website and I said, we should barter. Like it just came to me. And she was so open to it because she needed my services. I needed her services. And she knew it would be a good testimonial. It would be a good referral. Yeah. So I don't know if any of this is helpful at all. But you just kind of have to feel out the situation and see if it feels like a good fit for you and for them. And when it works, right? When you guys work together, what kind of structure do you put in place so that it doesn't feel like free services, right? So it feels like you're both being held accountable. Did you do anything like, I don't know if contracts is even a thing, but like how do you make sure that you're both being held accountable? We did weekly calls. I put her through my same client portal that I do everything through. So she acted just like a regular client. She got the same treatment as a regular client, but she wasn't paying for it. But it ended up totally being worth the time and the money because I have a beautiful website to show for it. So whatever the case may be, just ask. And if the person feels good about you and good about what you offer, they'll do it. Yeah, that sounds, I'm about to ask, and I hope it goes well. I hope I come back with a great story and I can do a whole podcast episode on bartering because I think that's a really good tip. Let's talk about
So you said that you went several years of basically like trial and error, right? Like just seeing what works, seeing what, how do you have packages? How do you price yourself? And then you landed on the idea of getting a coach. This was after years of starting your business. So I'm really curious as to what made you say, I think I need a coach.
What led to that is that I considered quitting. I was so burnt out. I was so stressed about making money. I was working all the time. And I said, this is not what I got into owning my business for.
Yeah.
So I was in the group Location Independent Biz Babes that Susie Coifer runs. And she offered a one-on-one session for $100 because she was raising her prices. And she is, I don't know what her official title is anymore because she keeps evolving. But then she was a mindset and visibility coach. So I got on that call with her and I was just like, whoa, okay, this girl is amazing. Like she really knows her stuff. She really kind of broke open some ideas that I didn't realize had been blocking me from success and from growing my business. And from there, she was like, I really want to work with you. I think you'd be a great, client for me. And she offered me a discounted rate on, I think it was 8 weeks of coaching. And I took her up on that because I realized it was going to change my business. And it really did. Yeah. She made me realize that I was focusing on the wrong things. So she said, you need to switch to being a strategist and a marketing strategist and a Facebook ad strategist, because that is a thing that people will pay for. She made me realize that I didn't have any kind of routine at all for in the morning. I had never worked on my mindset ever before. So she made me get into that, which was I always told her it was like therapy. It was like business therapy. Yeah. Like pulling things out of me and seeing how I needed to act and show up and all that. And then she made me realize that I was worth charging higher prices.
That is incredible. So what is her name? What is your coach's name?
She's not my coach anymore because that was like 2 years ago. Her name is Susie, Susi Coifer.
So I'm going to pause for a second. And you mentioned the word mindset. Now, that when I was in corporate, when I was working full-time, mindset it didn't mean anything. It's just a word. It doesn't mean anything. Now, in this crazy universe of entrepreneurs, mindset is everything, right? So I wanted to pause and tell you guys that I actually did an episode where I tell you what my money mindset issues have been, and that's episode 21. So if you want to go back and check it out, go to inacoveney.com/CT21, and that'll take you straight there, or just go on the podcast and check out episode 21. But did I say 29 before? 21. So I just wanted to pause here because this mindset situation, it just blew my mind. Haha, no pun intended. It really blew my mind because I didn't realize that I had blocks. I mean, if you ever hung out with me, especially at work, I am a type A person. I get things done. I'm all about action. There is nothing that gets in my way. I started my business while I was working on maternity leave. I mean, nothing has ever gotten in my way. And then I start becoming an entrepreneur and I realize that there are certain beliefs that I have and certain behaviors that I do that I didn't realize were blocking me from getting to the next level that I had no idea about. So how was your journey into realizing that mindset is a thing?
Oh, wow. It was, much like you. I had heard of it, but I really thought it was kind of like hippie, woo-wooey, spiritual, and I'm more into that now. But when I first started, I was like, no, that's dumb. Just that's a load of crap. Yeah. But I realized it really is more like therapy. Like it's just, and it's science. You really can rewire your brain to make yourself feel and understand and act in different ways, which is kind of incredible that you can rewire your brain. So my biggest blocks for me were, and it still are, mindset is ever evolving, is worthiness. So knowing that I'm worthy of my pricing, of my platform, of my voice. And just showing up as myself, which is a thing that I preach all the time to people. But it's one thing to do it for other people or to do it for yourself. It's so difficult.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I realized that one of my big blocks. So this is something, and I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of like background history. This is what I heard when I started to get into like money mindset, right? This is what I heard. That a lot of people feel like, money is scarce, the money doesn't grow on trees, and that they're frightened of not making enough money, which it directly affects their behavior because they're acting from a place of fear that if money's not gonna come, then I'm not gonna try this thing. It's way too risky. I need to pull it back. So it makes you stay in a box, right? It makes you like not really be ready for the next level, when really people who make money, they feel like money flows freely. Now you may see it, if you see it objectively, it's like, well, one person is poor and one person is rich, but it has nothing to do with that. The rich person could feel just as poor as the poor person just by their mere fear of not making enough money the next month. It doesn't matter how much money they're making. It's all a belief. So these are things that you have to tackle right away so you can start getting over those things. For me, I always had, even when I first heard about mindset, I was having trouble relating to that because in my world, when I grew up, money was abundant. I never actually had a scarcity problem. So I'm like, okay, so what is my money block? And then I realized, it's just through a lot of listening to people who do this, right? A lot of people who talk about manifestation and mindset. I realized that my block was more around what would happen if I made a lot of money. Now, right? So anybody listening is like, well, of course, once I make a lot of money, my life problems will be solved. In my case, it was like, no, wait, if I make a lot of money, then I'm going to have a large following, which means that I'm going to become a quasi-celebrity, which means that I'm going to be attracting crazy people who are going to want to kill me. So
that's quite a leap.
I had this like fear, and whenever, I'm telling you, like, I'm a type A person, nothing gets in my way, so I just do it even though I'm afraid. So I would go on Facebook Lives because I've never been afraid of them. And if I got 0 audience members, I was relieved because it meant that I was going to get to keep my life. You know what I mean? And whenever I got people in the audience, I would be afraid of, do I know that person? Do they know where I live? Can they tell where I am right now? Like, those were the fears that were coming in. So you would think that, these fears, like, they're irrational. They sound irrational. They sound crazy, but it makes me behave in a certain way, right? It makes me not want to take risks. So are there limiting beliefs that you would like to share with the audience that you've been working on?
Oh, wow. So many. Yeah, I think the biggest one that I come back to and I work on is, especially this, as an entrepreneur, business is always up and down.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think in my head, it's so hard to get clients.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to pay me. So I've been trying to turn those around and say, I have an influx of perfect clients.
Yeah.
Money flows freely, and I get money every day. I receive money every day. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I've realized it's all about the way you phrase things too. Yeah. So it's not being paid, it's being given. It's not getting money, it's receiving. So it's just, it's all the way you word it and the way you perceive it, and you kind of hold on to it. So those are 2 big things that I'm working on. Mm-hmm. And I'm always working on the worthiness piece. I'm always working on showing up as an expert. That was a word that scared me for so long. Yeah. Because for me, expert was like, oh, Marie Forleo or Amy Porterfield or Tony Robbins. And my coach, Susie, said, no, you are the expert for your clients. Right. They are paying you as the expert. Right. And that just blew my mind. It really did. Yeah. So now I realize I do have a platform. I do have a voice, and I am an expert. People look to me for that, but doesn't mean that I'm going to be a trillionaire, and I'm not going to be Oprah. And that's cool. Maybe I will. That would be awesome. But right now I'm not Oprah. So right. Okay. And that's okay. That doesn't take the label of expert away from you.
right? So I actually had a call with like a strategy call with someone who was explaining their problem to me, and she's like, well, and I saw online that you're this WordPress expert, and she used like air quotes. If you're looking at the video, you can see me. And I corrected her. I'm like, actually, without the air quotes, I am a WordPress expert.
Yay, good for you.
I had to, because I can't let somebody take that away from me, that I know what I'm talking about. So I have clients actually that feel this way, that feel like, wait, I'm not an expert in anything. Ina, you have WordPress, right? Like, I don't really have anything that I'm good at. And I challenge them on that. I'm like, no, wait a second. Why are you starting a business? Who do you want to help? And do you believe that you can help them? Yes or no? And they're like, well, yeah, I really feel like I can help them. Then what does that make you if not the expert to that client, right? That's all it takes to really recognize that. So yeah, so how did you go about I'm sorry, I already asked you about like getting your coach. I'm gonna get that coach information in the show notes, and you're gonna send that to me. But yeah, getting a coach was huge. That's actually what I consider to be the day that my new business was born, is the day that I got my first coach, because that's really when I said, this, I'm taking this seriously. This is not going to be another little hobby experiment. I am making my life with this, and I need to know what the right things to do are. And there are a million coaches out there, a million of them. So you have to find one that you trust and that you care about, right? So I'm never shy of like finding coaches. I'm always enrolling in programs. I'm always looking to learn. Yeah.
Though I have a problem with the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
I was just saying at the conference I was at the other week that I am a course hoarder. I will buy people's courses and I will put them on a folder on my computer, and I'll say, I'll get to that eventually. And I'm like, I've probably spent $10,000 on courses, right? You know, just hoarding them. So my new thing is I'm going to block out time every Friday to work on one of them.
I like that. And I've had the same problem, that I've actually been hoarding freebies, right? So same folder. Anybody who's listening to me right now, you guys should know that there are a million people out there doing what Melody and I do. And they're like, one of the big strategies that you do is you have a freebie. It's also called an opt-in, something on the front page of your website where you get people to click, your ideal clients to click and enroll in your mailing list. Because when you email your client, like, I love emailing my list because I feel like they're my best friends. So I'll put like all my most vulnerable stuff on my mailing list. So that's one of the big strategies that you learn, which means that there's a million people out there doing exactly that. So there's a million opt-ins out there. What you need is focus, right? So you need to make sure that you're not just, okay, I need to learn everything today, right? And hoard all of those things today, and then I'm going to be an expert tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. Right? So that's why coaching is just important, because it kind of keeps you focused on a strategy that works, like it builds on itself. That's why I'm all for coaching. So I want to know from you, Melody, what is your favorite opt-in, and I'd love for you to share it with our audience.
My favorite opt-in?
Your own.
Oh, my opt-in. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so my opt-in, the one that does the best, is I have a video training where I can help people grow their Facebook business page to 10,000 or more in 3 days.
Nice.
So this is a vanity metric. Usually I'm not for vanity metrics, but here's the thing. It's social proof. Yeah. So if people come to your business page and they see you have 2 people who are liking it or following it, chances are someone may not hire you because they're thinking, she doesn't have any audience, nobody sees her as an expert. But if someone comes to your Facebook page and sees you have 10,000, 12,000, 20,000 people following you, holy guacamole, like, that's a big boost. And guess what? Even though a lot of those people may not be your ideal client, even like 10% of those people could still be your ideal client. And that's amazing.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's how you build authority. That's how you place yourself up there in the market. So would you like to share the link where people can go and find it?
I will send you the link. It's a little bit long, so it's long to say, but I will send you the link, and I would love for you guys to check it out. everybody that has done the opt-in has just given me rave reviews. It really works. It works quickly. And you were able to build your authority pretty fast.
Awesome. So I'm going to put it right in the show notes. Okay.
Awesome.
So find it there. So if you're on your phone right now, you can look at it in the description. If you're looking at the video, it should be just below this. And I'm going to put the link in there for Melody's opt-in. Okay. But that, do you have any parting words? Anything you would like our audience to know?
Guys, don't be afraid to step out on your own and do what you love doing, make money doing it, speak your truth. I'm all about showing up as yourselves, because I firmly believe that if you show up as yourself and you speak your truth, your audience will find you, because they want to see you as a leader and they want to see you as a friend. And I think so many business owners are scared of doing that. They get caught up in I've got to look perfect. I've got to have the perfect content. I've got to have the perfect mailing list. You know what? No one really cares about that. You can still show up as a professional and be yourself.
Yeah. Amen, sister. So thank you so much for coming, Melody. This has been fun, and I can't wait to be on your podcast. So everybody go subscribe to the Biz Babes with Soul podcast and find my episode. We had a completely different conversation over there, so you can go find it. So Melody, thank you so much. It has been great.
Thank you so much. I loved this. Have a great day, guys.
You too, Melody. Thank you. Bye.